These have to be the last two. So what do you say? You came back again? He's a masochist.
About the connection, what behind the spiritual side behind everything we get. Without the spiritual healing power.
Exactly.
People sometimes they don't want to be cured.
Exactly.
They do everything for them and they never be cured.
Exactly.
But sometimes people they really feel like to be cured. Sometimes they get a touch or something that take that truth.
Years ago, I wrote a book, maybe 15 years ago, called Spirituality in Life and Healing. And I described, remember Norman, the colonic therapist? Well, 25 years ago or so, 30 years ago, he said to me,
you never take off, and when you take off, you want to see movies, and I'm tired of looking at movies. Let's go to some of these spiritual places.
So he knew how to get me. So the first place he brings me is to the poorest place I ever saw in New England. And it was all poor, very dirt poor white and African American people in a tent. And I think it was halfway up, to the Berkshires. And there's a guy there that made me sick to my stomach the minute I looked at him. He had a shark skin suit on, a gigantic pompadour like this. He had big rings on. You had to look at it like this. And he's screaming and yelling and provoking these people. And I'm in the back row, and Norman kept grabbing my leg because I wanted to get up and grab this guy. Because I'm thinking he's a shyster, he's going to rob these people. And then I watched these people start to have experiences from it. And he said, now you see why I brought you here? Shut up. And so this went on for 2 years. And I write about this. So I went to several different types of, quote, spiritual healing activities. The last one was Father Diorio. Anyone know who Father Diorio is? Father Diorio in Worcester. Now this is really interesting. So I go in there, and there's a cathedral in Worcester, Massachusetts, and this guy had tens of thousands of people coming into that cathedral. There are buses from all over the country. People are coming out on stretchers, in wheelchairs, and I said, wow, this is going to be a great show. I thought that a trumpet section would come out, and this little guy, about this big, balding, 40-year-old guy comes out and says, hello, I'm Father Diorio. Who the hell is that? He says, Father, I said, that couldn't be Father Diorio, it's a deadbeat. He said, shut up, that's Father Diorio. He never raised his voice, and I saw some of the people I saw get out in wheelchairs actually get up and start to walk. And I write about in this book that every healing is, at its core, spiritual. And what is spiritual? Is it mystical? Is it religious? No. Spiritual comes from the root spirit. And when you hear the word spirit, what does that mean? Alive. Vital, passionate, fulfilled, uncompromising. I'm going to give everything, I'll do everything to get to that with it. And that's why I say every healing spiritual. Maybe not with a pompadour guy or Father Diorio or jerking around on the ground speaking in tongues. But you've got to find your inner spirit, and that's what I spoke about first thing tonight. I talked about finding your passion and being fulfilled. That's your connectiveness with the universe, for the lack of a better term. That's the core of it. And if you do that and then combine it with the proper food, with the energy, we actually know, I could do a whole class on it, the pathways of how that increases dopamine and serotonin and activates endorphin activities. So it gives you the chemistry to create heightened amounts of awareness. It doesn't make you a better person. It just gives you the tools you were meant to have to begin with. Okay? Movement and exercise. How many of you are constant aerobic exercisers? We get high when we do it. You get endorphin activity, dopamine activity. So you feel like you're alive. So I think it's all the same. I don't think there's a spiritual and an emotional and a physical. I think it's really all the same thing. If you're playing baseball, it's a spiritual act. If you're taking a crap, it's a physical act. I mean, it's also an emotional act. And everything really is the same. And what we do as people to feel secure is subcategorize things. But if you think of things, everything I do, I always think of it as a spiritual process. And then I try to do it at my highest and best level at that point. Don't always achieve it, but at least we're attempting to do that. When you're thinking thoughts, I always try to think thoughts that I have control over, that I'm going to do something with. Not just to think a thought and then let it go, and it becomes a burden. When I eat a food, it has a purpose. What's that food going to do? If it's not going to do anything, why touch the food? So everything is a spiritual act, and you're exactly right about that. Most important.
All right.
Last one, Randy. Randy the grass man. Let's give him a hand.